Welcome to Anything You Want, the channel committed to measured, illuminating coverage of the stories that ripple across screens and societies. If you value coverage that goes beyond the superficial, please subscribe now, hit the join button to support our work, and press like to signal that you want more long-form reporting. Your participation helps us bring more exclusive narratives to life. On an evening when Venice's historic palazzos reflected lights and lenses, the festival's ritual glitz yielded, unexpectedly, to a moment of blunt personal politics. Can Yaman, an actor whose fame has expanded from Turkish television to international recognition, arrived on the red carpet not as a solitary star but as part of a couple resolved to assert their dignity in public. Hand in hand with Sarah Bluma, he traversed the photographer's gauntlet with a posture that suggested not only private affection but a refusal to allow malicious commentary to define the contours of their relationship. The image itself was cinematic, Yaman, immaculate in a sharply cut black tuxedo that spoke to a cultivated restraint, Bluma, luminous in a gown whose silhouette married the audacious with the classical. Fans pressed forward in the hope of selfies and signatures, yet the prevailing sensation among the crowd and camera crews was less about access than about witness, that is, the deliberate, visible act of two people claiming the space to be seen together on their own terms. Those repeated frames, circulated across feeds, quickly acquired the tenor of a symbolic rebuttal to months of whisper and insinuation. When the microphones were offered, the actor dispensed with euphemism. He spoke with a firmness that left little room for equivocation, calling on commentators, pundits, and the wider public to exercise a fundamental courtesy toward his partner, to stop reducing her to a topic in a gossip economy and to cease the reflexive disparagement that often accompanies public relationships. His words functioned not merely as a defense of a private bond but as a pointed critique of the dynamics that transform human beings into consumable rumors. In essence, he challenged a tabloid-driven machinery that at times resembles an obsessive, collective tribunal. Sarah Bluma, opting for composure over confrontation, answered in posture rather than polemic. Her calm smile and steady presence alongside Yaman were widely read as a dignified counterweight to the sensationalist narratives proliferating elsewhere. Social platforms rapidly circulated images of the pair's composure, with many commentators celebrating her poise as a form of resilient dignity. Popular threads described the couple's appearance as a quiet but resolute stand against intrusive commentary. The press conference that followed produced a more fraught exchange when a reporter invoked Yaman's previous relationship with Demet Özdemir. The room hushed, and Yaman offered a reply framed by closure rather than provocation, indicating that earlier chapters of his life occupied their proper place in the past and should not be exploited to resurrect controversy. This measured demarcation reverberated through comment sections and message boards. Some interpreted his response as an unequivocal formal closure, while others viewed it as an appeal for ethical discretion in journalistic practice. Behind the visible spectacle, quieter narratives circulated in certain corners of the press. Reports originating from Italy suggested that members of Sarah Bluma's family harbored reservations about the relationship, citing concerns over a lifestyle marked by long absences and the unpredictability of a career performed largely in public. Those accounts sketched a classical tension. The desire for domestic tranquility versus the centrifugal pulls of a high-profile profession. Yet the couple's intentional public posture in Venice read to many observers as an answer to such doubts, a deliberate public tethering that asserted commitment in plain sight. Public reaction across social media splintered into competing frames. Admirers praised Yaman's willingness to defend his partner publicly, framing his remarks as an act of moral courage that confronted the more corrosive tendencies of modern gossip. Critics, in contrast, argued that a single declarative moment cannot absolve the cycles of rumor and that such pronouncements risk amplifying the very attention they seek to deflect. Across newspapers and digital outlets from Turkey to other European centers, coverage ranged from laudatory human interest features to skeptical analyses that questioned whether spectacle and defense can coexist without further escalation. The ripple effects extended into speculation. Industry insiders and columnists posed the question whether the festival declarations signaled the beginning of a new personal chapter, perhaps an eventual formalization of the relationship, or at least a reorientation of priorities toward domestic stability. No definitive evidence of imminent engagement or concrete plans followed the headlines that night. Still, the tone of the intervention suggested an inflection point, a conscious decision to present the partnership as a facet of public life that warrants respect rather than a perpetual subject for consumption. Viewed in a wider context, the episode sits at the intersection of celebrity sovereignty and public accountability. Yaman's decision to voice a plea for civility in such a conspicuous forum was simultaneously theatrical and ethical. Theatrical in its use of a highly visible stage to amplify a message, ethical in its insistence that personal relationships be afforded the ordinary courtesies of human coexistence. For observers and media scholars, the choice of Venice as the locus for that plea endowed the statement with symbolic weight, a reminder that statements made on international platforms are rarely contained by geography and can quickly reconfigure narratives across borders. Whatever the long-term trajectory of their relationship, the immediate human element is unmistakable. Two people chose to face the cameras together and to ask, publicly, for the most modest of allowances, to be permitted to love and live without habitual disparagement. That insistence for simple decency is what transformed an otherwise routine red carpet procession into a charged civic moment, one that invites reflection about how public curiosity intersects with individual dignity. We want to hear from you. Do you believe that a forceful public defense can deter invasive media behavior, or does it simply magnify scrutiny? Would you rather celebrities retreat from the public eye when faced with rumor, or confront tabloids head-on? Which Turkish figures should Anything You Want investigate next, whose stories deserve careful, nuanced coverage? Share your thoughts below. If you value this kind of in-depth reporting, please subscribe, use the join button to support our channel, and hit like and share to help grow our community. Venice proved, once more, that the choreography of pageantry can unexpectedly yield raw human appeals. Can Yaman's public insistence on respect for his partnership with Sarah Bluma reframed a red carpet moment into an argument for everyday decency? Anything You Want will continue to follow this story, to provide contextual analysis, and to amplify voices from our audience. Thank you for listening, for engaging, and for supporting independent storytelling.